Welcome again to Cottage Talk. I am Russ Goldman. This is my preview episode of Fulham's match against Tottenham Hotspur at Craven Cottage on Saturday. I'm going to give you my 5 keys to victory for Fulham in this episode. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Okay, before I go through my keys to victory, I'll also mention my thoughts on the starting 11, what I think Marco is going to do, and I'll end with my prediction. But before any of that, I want to talk a little bit about Tottenham Hotspur. I want to give them a lot of credit because many probably thought this season would be one that would be going in the opposite direction after losing Harry Kane. Sometimes when you lose a player like Kane, you could take a step back, or in other cases, you could take 2 steps forward. I would have to ask Spurs supporters, but I have a feeling they might have taken 2 steps forward, becoming more of a team, not based around one player, but based around a team. I think they have an excellent manager, some very good players, some are excellent players, and they're going to be difficult for Fulham to beat on Saturday. But I will say this, Fulham have beaten Arsenal at Craven Cottage. They've beaten Manchester United at Old Trafford, and I think they have given Liverpool their hardest matches, maybe except for Manchester City. So Fulham are no pushover. So if you're a Tottenham Hotspur supporter listening to this podcast, I have much respect for your side, but understand that Fulham can beat your side. And I'm going to give my keys to victory on how that they can do that. So let's get going on this. Let's start with number 5. This is my number 5 key to victory, and it's this. Apply what you learned against Arsenal and Manchester United. These were 2 signature victories, and I think Fulham won these matches in different ways. So learn what worked in those matches and apply against Tottenham Hotspur. And there are several things you can look. Listen, Fulham played very narrow against Manchester United. I don't think that they're going to play that way in this match, but I'm not the manager. We shall see. But what worked besides playing now? It was really playing together as a team. They can learn a lot from that Manchester United match. You could also really take out of it is that it was even at the half, and then they took off in the second half. They could have gone in the other direction, but they really played very well against Manchester United. There's a lot that you can take from that. There's even more I think you could take from the Arsenal victory. And what's great about here is that Fulham actually went down. And what I learned by watching Arsenal, I have a lot of respect for Arsenal. I think that they're going to win the league. I'm going to say that right now. But I think that they're a team that really, they do what they do. They really don't change much on what they do. And if you figure that out and you know how to beat that and you have a game plan to beat that, you can beat Arsenal. I think there is a similar game plan out there to beat Tottenham Hotspur. And I think Fulham need to learn what worked against the 2 sides I just mentioned, and also Liverpool, because they've given Liverpool all kinds of fits. And I'm going to tell you what I think that they're going to do to make this happen. But I think that they have to take everything that they've learned from these 3 opponents and whatever worked and try to harness that against Tottenham Hotspur. Difficult task, very good team, as I mentioned, very good manager. But Fulham can get it done, especially at home, where they've been, I think, very dangerous at times. So let's go to number 4, and this is always a key one for me. Besides the Arsenal match, Fulham have not really played well from behind, so they need to score the first goal. If they score the first goal, it tends to set up everything that they do. They're very good playing from ahead. I'll call them front runners. And there's nothing wrong with being front runners if you can back that up. So for me, Fulham need to score first. And I think that they have a chance to do that if they have the right mentality. Look for their opportunities. And what's interesting about Spurs is that I think Fulham will get their opportunities. They need to be patient, not conservative, just patient. I think there's a difference here. When they get their opportunity, they need to pounce. And I think they're going to see those opportunities come their way in this match. It's going to be how they're going to approach it. And I'll mention that in number 3, because I think that scoring the first goal sets everything up to being able to play even more what I want them to do in my next key to victory. And that's Fulham need to beat Spurs on the counterattack. Now, we've seen this many times this season. Fulham, I think, are excellent on the counter. And the way that Spurs play, I think it's going to lend themselves to have these opportunities on the counter, which I think is great. We saw it actually against Brighton, just some really wonderful opportunities on the counter. They're going to get it, but they are going to need to be lethal. They're going to have to be able to take advantage of these opportunities, not just to counter quickly, but to actually score on these opportunities. This is where I think Fulham have a chance to really do some damage against Spurs. It's going to happen. They're going to get their opportunities, but they need to be clinical. They were not clinical against Wolves, and it came back to bite them. They have to be clinical, especially on the counterattack against Spurs. That's why that's my number 3 key to victory. Let's go to number 2. Rodrigo Muniz. I think he is going to be very key in this match, even though, according to Marco's presser, all 3 strikers could be made available. But I think Rodrigo Muniz is going to start here. So I think Muniz has taken a huge jump forward. And I think he's going to be key in this victory. And I'm going to say it right now. In this victory, I'm going to be predicting a Fulham victory. Number 2, feed Rodrigo Muniz early and often. Now, what's great is that I've looked a lot at Tottenham Hotspur. Aerial duels is not a strength of theirs. And I think if you get the balls in the box to Rodrigo Muniz, I think you can really make some hay here against this team. So for me, they need to get him involved early and often and just keep feeding him the ball, because then he can set everything up for not just himself, but for his teammates. I think he is a confidence player. I think he is key in this match. That's why that's my number 2 key to victory. Coming up next is my number 1 key to victory for Fulham against Tottenham Hotspur. My starting 11, what I think Marco's going to do, and I'll end the show with my prediction for the match. Okay, here's my number 1 key to victory for Fulham, and of course it involves Marco Silva. Number 1, Marco needs to win the coaching battle. This shows up often in my keys to victory. And when Fulham win, it seems to be a huge key to victory. So that's why this is my number 1. He needs to get the starting 11 right here. And I'll go through what I think he's going to do coming up next. But if he nails that against this team, against Tottenham Hotspur, sets Fulham up to succeed, they have a great chance to win. But it's not just that. It'll be his game plan. It will be his substitutions, and when he makes the substitutions. It's the entire situation for Marco. He has to hit everything for Fulham to win. He needs to be a 10 out of 10, which is difficult to do, but Marco has it in him to make all the right calls. Now, if something isn't working, he is going to have to change it as well. He's done that, so he'll need to make adjustments if needed. But I think it's vital that he outcoaches the Tottenham Hotspur coach, who I have a lot of respect for, Ange. And if he does it, I think Fulham have a great chance to win. That's why that's my number 1. I think it's very important that Fulham are set up to succeed in this match. It comes from Marco and his coaching staff. Okay, so let's go to starting 11. This is what I would do with the starting 11. I would go with Leno, Castagna, Robinson, Bassi, and Tosin. On the left, I am going to go with Willian. On the right, I am going to go with Alex Iwobi. In the middle, Paulinho, Kearney, and Pereira. Up front, I'm going to go with Rodrigo Muniz. Now, this is different from the last match, the last couple matches, but I think this starting 11 against this team gives Fulham the best chance to win. That's why that's going to be my starting 11. So what do I think Marco is going to do? I've given this a lot of thought because I think there are some really interesting decisions here on the wings and also in the middle. Does he play Harrison Reed? Does he play Sasa Lucas? Does he stick with the 2 of them? I don't think he does. Does he stick with Harry Wilson and Iwobi? I think he sticks with Iwobi, but does not play Harry Wilson. So what I'm going to go with is the starting 11 I just gave you as my starting 11. I think Marco goes with the same exact starting 11, and I think that starting 11 gives Fulham a great chance to win. He could still make adjustments. I've heard the argument of starting Adama Traore. I could see that too. But think of the bench here. Harry Wilson on the bench. You could even throw in Bobby Decordova-Reid. Adama Traore. How about Sasa Lukic and Harrison Reed? You can change things up. You can mix and match here. So for me, Fulham's depth could really play a role in this match, in a match where I think they're going to win. I'm going to say it right now. I do believe Fulham are going to win. But that's what I think Marco's going to do. I think he's going to do what I want him to do for starting 11. And we'll see how it all plays out. Okay. Now, to end the show, I'm going to give you my prediction for the match. And it is this. As I have a lot of respect for Tottenham Hotspur, I really do. I think that they're a team on the rise. I like what they've done without Harry Kane. They are a true team. But you know who else is a true team without Alexander Mitrovic? It's Fulham Football Club. I think Fulham are better without Alexander Mitrovic. Yes, I said that. A better team as a unit. I think Spurs, like I mentioned, are a better team without Kane. So which team can actually win this match? Many are going to pick, I'd say the majority will pick Tottenham to win this match, and I understand that. But I watch a lot more Fulham than anyone else would that follows Tottenham Hotspur probably. So listen, I know how Fulham can win this match, and I've watched a decent amount of Spurs, and I have a lot of respect for them. But I'm going for this scoreline. I'm going 2-1 to Fulham, and I'm going to say Rodrigo Muniz scores a brace. That's what I'm going to say. I think Fulham will score the first goal. Spurs will get the equalizer, and then Rodrigo Muniz will score the winner late in the match to give Fulham all 3 points. That's my prediction. I could easily be wrong, but I just got this strange feeling that they're going to win this match. I really do. Listen, Fulham have already beaten Spurs this season. They have. I know it was a cup match, and it did go to penalties, but they did win the match. So they now have a good amount of experience playing against Spurs. They played them twice. So they'll know what they need to do. Fulham are not the same team that they were in either of the matches. Now, I guess you could argue the same thing for Spurs, but I think Fulham are very different from the team that have faced Spurs the last 2 times. And I think they're going to find that out on Saturday. And I look forward to the match. So, like I mentioned, I'm ending the show with my prediction, 2-1 to Fulham. Okay. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Cottage Talk. As always, please do subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. It does help other Fulham supporters find us. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. My name is Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for watching and listening to Cottage Talk, part of the talkSPORT Fan Network.